The parents have not done it, then teachers cannot do anything.
Right. And even it is said that the teacher's job is not just to teach the books. I mean, there have been examples where students have been inspired by the teachers and its guidance, and they have made a great way in their life. So even teachers, if they provide a bit of extra effort, instead of just teaching them the bookies, and they interact with individual. I mean, that's not possible for them to interact with each and everyone, but still if they see a spark in few students, and they can make a different life. So
absolutely right. Teachers are basically the role model of every child. If you go back to your student life, you also must be even remembering some of the teachers who taught you.
Absolutely.
So basically, a teacher doesn't need to individually, personally take care of so many students. But if a teacher, his own demeanor, his own personality, his own way of talking, way of walking, the kind of affection he shows to the child, that ultimately comes to the student. A student is nothing but part of what the teacher is. So directly or indirectly, the students imbibe everything from the teacher. His way of leading his or her life.
Right.
And that has a very major influence on the personality of the students.
And coming back to the present scenario of education, it is said that costly. I mean, it has been getting costly after the self-finance approach and all that. And it is also said that with this self-finance schooling, other schools' education have been really been poor. I mean, those schools before self-financing were really good, but this self-finance has changed the entire scenario. So what do you have to say about that? I mean, about this costly education. I mean, is it fair to charge this much?
See, there are two aspects of it. Now, everything comes at a cost.
True.
Now, there was time when government took the responsibility, and even today government is taking responsibility of 100% free education to everybody, which actually is never going to be possible, because we have a huge population. It's not easy to take responsibility of almost 12 to 15 crores of school students, and then later crores and crores for professional education. And when the people are earning in the country, when the per capita income is going up, when everybody now is getting prosperous, when we are becoming one of the economic force, why should there be cheap or free education? When your child can get 500 rupee per day as pocket money. When we go and spend 1,000 rupees on one evening on dosas and burgers and all that, but we don't want to pay, say, 1,000 rupee a month fee for school education or college education. So actually the citizens also, the government has spoiled the habit of citizens. They can spend lakhs on tourism, and they can go for traveling, they can spend lavishly for other luxurious items, but for the education of the child they don't, because they know government is going to make this education
free. Yeah, but see, I mean, whatever the things you said, it can be applicable to those rich families. I mean, 500 rupees of pocket money and all that. But what about those students whose financial condition is poor, or say middle class, but they are actually talented, but because of the lack of money, they cannot pay the higher fees, and they have to choose such schools where they cannot get the proper education there. And it is the fact that the schools which are charging high kind of education is provided is really good, and to those schools where education is provided for free, or say for some concession, their education is not really that good. I mean, this is the fact.
No, I don't agree with you. We are charging more fee doesn't mean that we are producing the best of results as far as students
I'm not
are
talking about the
concerned.
result. I'm talking about the the kind of education is provided there. They are taking care of everything, but then it depends on the student.
If you see the results, if you see the admissions in NDA, admissions in IMA, admissions, results of IAS, IFS and all that, you will find there was a time, there was say 40 years from now, these residential schools were producing the best of toppers for military, for civil services. That was the time.
Right.
But if you see now, the most successful achievers in every field, in every walk of life, basically have come from not very expensive or those kind of schools. The ordinary schools from ordinary towns and villages now are contributing much more than so-called elite schools.
Right.
So I don't agree that only expensive schools can produce good citizens, but it is the teachers, what kind of teachers ultimately are.
Right.
I'll just give you an example of Dr. Abdul Kalam. He stayed in Rajkumar College twice.
Right.
And when we were having breakfast, we were just talking, then he gave a very interesting incident. He belonged to a very, very poor family. His father used to sell papers. And he also, when he was in class 5 and 6, he used to help his father in distributing papers. So one day he said, I went to the class, my maths class was going on, and a boy who used to sit in the front that day was absent. And in his place, Dr. Abdul Kalam sat. Now when the teacher came, the teacher found that the boy who used to sit in the front and his favorite boy was not there, and in place of him this fellow is sitting. So he got angry and he slapped Dr. Abdul Kalam. Now Abdul Kalam then went back and sat where he normally used to sit. He said, all those 30-35 minutes I was thinking, hell with now the studies. I will from tomorrow stop studying and will start selling papers, and I will help father so that we earn more. They were very poor. So he decided during those 30-35 minutes, if from tomorrow he is not going to come to the class. His education, as far as he was concerned, was over.